I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is a Californian on the ticket.
I am incredibly honored by this responsibility.
California Senator Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's choice for vice president. We break down the decision with our panel. Attorney Gloria Allred, radio host John Kobylt, political strategist Brian Goldsmith. Plus, my conversations this week about the pick with Congresswoman Karen Bass, Governor Gavin Newsom, and Congressman Adam Schiff. Also,
I should never have let that happen, and I'll regret it forever.
Congresswoman Katie Hill on the relationship that ended her congressional career, those naked photos, and her message for women in politics now. The issue starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
Your next Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Kamala?
Joe Biden making Kamala Harris the first California Democrat ever to be on a presidential ticket. It's a history-making choice that can reshape politics in this state for a generation. Welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson. We spoke with Kamala Harris about the VP role earlier this year on our show.
Joe Biden is a person who cares and has empathy.
So let's talk about this pick with our panel. There are our all-stars who will be in place for convention coverage next week. Gloria Allred is one of the best-known attorneys in the world and a former delegate for the Democratic Party. John Kobylt is co-host of the John and Ken Show on KFI AM 640 and the iHeartRadio app. And Brian Goldsmith, a Democratic strategist, former journalist who was political director for CBS News and Yahoo. Welcome all. Good to see you all. Gloria, let's start with you. What does this pick mean to you?
I'm so excited because Kamala Harris is now our favorite daughter from California, and she is a great choice. Democrats are wildly happy. They've shown that because the fundraising that was done on the day of her choice was so successful. It raised millions. She's the perfect one to run as the VP candidate with Joe Biden.
John Kobylt, you energized?
No, I'm not energized. It's funny, a few months ago, she was considered the biggest bust of the primary season after running one of the worst campaigns in recent Democratic history. She started out as one of the front runners. She ended up with over 95% of Democrats rejecting her, and everybody thought she botched her moment. So it's kind of funny that everybody is doing a 180 on her, and she's the greatest thing that's ever happened. I mean, that's absurd.
A failed presidential campaign is not a great predictor of the strength of a vice president. Al Gore didn't run a great campaign in 1988. He was terrific in the job. Joe Biden himself in 2008 didn't win a single delegate, and he was a great vice president for Barack Obama. I would say two things about the pick. One is it shows Biden's strength, his ability to be big, his ability to bring on board and unite with somebody who is critical of him. And the second is that she brings all kinds of diversity, not just the first Black woman on a major party ticket, the first HBCU grad, the first Asian American, and that's a formidable voting bloc, and not least, the first VP nominee with a Jewish husband. And as a Jewish husband myself, let me tell you, she understands challenge and suffering in a unique way.
Yeah, that is something. And not only, the husband also a graduate of Agora High School, my high school, Doug is as well. All right, so we talked to Democrats, some of the top Democrats in the state this week. They are universally lining up behind this. Take a look. Kamala Harris has been selected by Joe Biden to be the vice president.
She's ready to step into the job on day one. She, I think, is enormously talented.
Her empathy, her compassion, her learnedness.
I know she is going to energize folks. She's going to energize women. The fact that she's the first woman of color.
Little girls now can credibly perceive that they have opportunity. They can be chosen for vice president, and guess what? They can also be president of the United States of America.
So those various interviews we did this week, the president and the current vice president with a different tune.
She is a big taxer, as Joe is a big taxer.
Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have been overtaken by the radical left.
John, what do you think should be the line of attack on Kamala Harris.
She was the fourth most liberal senator in the Senate since she's been here. I think she had a rating of about 94 out of 100. So I'm looking, that comes out of the progressive tree of California, Portland, Seattle. Look at those cities. Look, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and Portland. All progressive mayors, progressive city councils, progressive politicians that are, some of them are going national, and each of those cities is a disaster. I want no part of progressive politics. They've had their shot the last few years, and the cities are disgusting, crime-ridden, out of control, tens of thousands of homeless people everywhere. They're letting prisoners out now. I have no idea why anyone would embrace any more progressive politicians.
Look at the United States of America under Donald Trump. Forget Portland and Seattle. Those are real challenges, but we're losing 1,000 Americans a day. We have the worst record in the advanced world dealing with this coronavirus crisis. He has abandoned the effort completely to help people economically. We're about to have an eviction crisis, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Depression. That's what they should be talking about.
All right, we're going to have more coming up. This week, the Biden-Harris ticket unveiled their campaign song, which was Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield.
Hush not, child, and don't cry.
Notice the social distancing there, the traditional arm raise, one of the many casualties of COVID. Up next, more with our panel, plus my conversation with Karen Bass about almost becoming VP, Governor Gavin Newsom telling us about all those already pitching to be Kamala's Senate replacement, and Katie Hill joins us to reflect on her scandal and what she's up to now. Stay with us. More of The Issue Is after this. Come on, Gloria, let's see those moves. What does that feel like to be in that world?
It was exciting to see some of the stories that came out. Now, some of the distortions with the op research or whatever it was, I mean, some of that was funny to read and some of it was just a little pathetic.
Congresswoman Karen Bass joining me on Fox 11 Los Angeles this week discussing almost becoming Joe Biden's VP choice. Back with our panel, Gloria Allred, John Kobylt, Brian Goldsmith. Brian, it seems like there was an extraordinary amount of opposition research put out on Bass that may have ended her campaign chances. What happened to her? Why do you think she didn't get the job?
I do think she was treated very unfairly by the process. Her lack of experience in national politics maybe led her not to respond as ferociously as some others might have. The good news for her is that she really is a master legislator, and she's going to have, I think, two opportunities in the future to really show her stuff. One is when Kamala Harris is elected vice president, that Senate seat is going to open up. She's going to be a strong candidate for that. Or she could be Speaker of the House someday. And I think she'd be terrific at either of those jobs.
I think most people outside of California never heard of her. And when you're promoting a vice president, this is a product. And it should be someone who's known, who comes with a pre-made image. The one thing no one's talking about very much is that, Joe Biden is in cognitive decline. Most of the country doesn't think he'll be president in a couple of years. So this vice president is being looked at as the president maybe in 2022 or so. And I don't think Karen Bass has any history with most Americans where you would trust that.
Brian, I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, criticize Biden on his record, on the issues. This is a shameful attack without any basis or evidence. In fact, we've got a lot of examples of cognitive decline from the President of the United States.
You look at the video of Joe Biden against Sarah Palin in 2008. Watch him speak. He can go on for 2 minutes, no notes, no teleprompter, very articulate, very detailed. Compare that to what you see today. I mean, I know what my lying eyes are telling me.
The effort by the extreme right wing to define Joe Biden as not ready, that dog won't hunt, as they say in the South, and especially Trump says that. Trump of all people, Trump of all people who thinks that somehow passing a test for dementia means that, he's like Einstein. It's ridiculous, and it's just not going to work.
All right. Well, if Kamala Harris ends up winning the vice presidency, it would be up to California Governor Gavin Newsom to appoint a replacement. So this week, I asked him about that process.
I'm curious if anybody has already started to pitch themselves as a replacement to you.
Well, you may be the only one that hasn't, unless you just did. And that is only slight exaggeration.
I mean, I wasn't, but if he's offering, yes, I would take it. And maybe Brian can help run my campaign. Brian, your thoughts on this?
Well, we have a lot of pent-up ambition in this state. A lot of constitutional officers who would like to move up. A lot of members of Congress who've been waiting their turn for a long time. I think it's important to remember he's going to appoint someone, and that person is going to have to stand for election, him or herself, in 2022. I would be very surprised if that person doesn't face a tough challenge. And there is no shortage of very qualified candidates.
Well, we have one senator who's approaching her 90s and who has been in that seat for a long time. So there have not been a lot of openings in terms of Senate seats for a state of 40 million people. This week, we spoke to two high-profile names who are already being discussed for that role, members of Congress Karen Bass and Adam Schiff.
Let me just tell you, I am not one of those that have pitched myself to him. Now, in terms of what the future brings, I definitely want to keep my options open.
Could we be seeing you as a senator shift in the next year? And do you want to make your case now?
Well, I appreciate the invitation, but I think that, frankly, all of us right now need to be focused on winning in November.
All right, Gloria, is there anybody you're especially excited about?
I guess he thinks that everybody has pitched themselves. I haven't pitched myself. I'm just happy to be on the issue is. Isn't that good enough?
Good enough for me. John, your thoughts on this, the naked ambition of California politicians?
Oh, I hope he selects Eric Garcetti and gets him out of Los Angeles before the rest of the place goes to hell.
There's an endorsement. Maybe that's going to be the bumper sticker for Eric Garcetti. Get him out of here before the city goes to hell. All right.
I'll we do have fundraising campaign.
Yeah, we do have a diversity of opinions here on the issue is. That's what we love. We're going to see this panel with us all next week on Fox 11 Los Angeles. If you don't live in Los Angeles, you can stream us live, foxla.com during the convention. We're going to be on Facebook Live as well. And John, during that process, you're going to become very familiar with this song. So that right there, that's Gloria with drag queens dressed as Gloria in the Netflix film Seeing Allred. John, I think by the end of next week, you are going to be dressing as Gloria. You may even ride with her in next year's Pride Parade. You ready for that? All right.
It's show business. You do what you got to do.
Yeah. All right, Gloria, teach them the move. Let's see it.
I'm doing my boxing moves.
Okay.
John.
Are they joining in?
Get ready next week.
All right, more of the issue is Katie Hill's coming up next. Thanks, guys.
We will not stand down. We will not be broken. We will not be silenced. We will rise, and we will make tomorrow better than today.
That was Katie Hill, formally resigning her seat in Congress about a year ago. At the time, she was a rising star in Democratic politics and our most frequent guest here on The Issue Is. She made history as the first openly bisexual California congressman, but she stepped away from politics after a series of leaked naked photos of her emerged and after she admitted to having an affair with a campaign staffer. Hill says she is the victim of cyber exploitation. She tells her story in this new book. It's called She Will Rise, Becoming a Warrior in the Battle for True Equality, which is out this week. Katie Hill, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I read the whole book. It's really, really great. Congratulations. I strongly recommend it. I know it's probably meant for a lot of women, but I strongly recommend it for men. I think you learn a lot in the process. So congratulations on this. And what I was so moved by was how sort of real and raw you were about a lot of things that clearly have been very traumatic to you. And sort of the premise is your husband at the time, who you were not in a great place with, said that he was going to ruin you. I'll ruin you, was the quote that he would say over and over again. And at one point in your relationship, you even considered killing yourself in the middle of the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a few weeks before the election, and I talk about that. I wouldn't quite call it an attempt, but that contemplation, and that was one of the worst nights, and it was after that I actually left him. But during that whole episode, when it was just a couple weeks before the election, that was when he first said that he'd ruin me, and if I left. And so, I ended up going back to him and hoping that we could just finish this thing out, and maybe once I left for DC and was not around as much, it would be better. And anyway, after I finally, it was 6 months in to being a member of Congress that I finally worked up the courage to say, I can't do this anymore. I've got to leave. I brought my dad with me to get my stuff, and then sure enough, I think once he realized that I was not coming back, a few months later, that was when he started circulating the photos.
And those were pictures of you, some of which you didn't even know were taken of you, and also with a campaign staffer that you were involved in a consensual relationship with, which in the book you say was wrong from a power dynamic perspective. What have you learned sort of in the process of reflection over the last year about that relationship?
I think the intensity of the campaign, the closeness of it, plus the fact that I was having the marital trouble that I was, it all kind of created this perfect storm, and I had poor judgment, and I should never have let that happen, and I'll regret it forever. And I think the person who is the most innocent bystander who's been hurt in all of this is her, and I hope that she just wants to be able to start her life fresh, and I hope that she's able to do that.
In the book, you talk about the fact that your husband or those around him were threatening to release potentially hundreds of more images, and it would be a drip, drip, drip every day, which is part of the reason that you made the decision to resign. And one of the most emotional conversations you had was with one of your heroes, Nancy Pelosi, having to explain to her that you were resigning and in some ways had let her down.
Yeah, that was that was a phone call that I was dreading so much. She was really supportive, and she told me that I didn't need to step down and that they would have my back, but I didn't want to put her or anyone else in the Democratic caucus, and especially members of the freshman class who I was friends with, who had these tough reelection campaigns. I didn't want to put them in the position of either having to defend me or denounce me. And I didn't want, my mistakes to really kind of cast a shadow on all of them. So it felt like the right thing to do, and the only choice that I had at the time.
Probably the most heartbreaking part of the book, other than the death of your brother, was the image of you thinking about killing yourself after you made the decision to resign. You're in a bathtub, and you're thinking, is this worth it?
More than half of victims of cyber exploitation contemplate suicide in the aftermath. And that's even higher than the number of women or the number of victims of rape who contemplate suicide. From now on, whenever I run into somebody and they know who I am, there's a really high likelihood that they've seen those photos, even by accident. So that's just something that you kind of have to live with. And I mean, it's your career, it's all the people who stood by you, who fought for you, who believed in you, and it truly is. It was just the most awful several days I could imagine.
When you see that there's now a Republican in your seat, Mike Garcia, do you ever regret it? I know you say you don't regret leaving, but are there moments where you're like, I could be there. He's voting the opposite way than I ever would?
Yeah, there's certainly times when, I think May 12th, I believe that was the day when he won, that I was like, oh man, that was probably the hardest I thought about whether I'd made a mistake by resigning. And I sure got a lot of hate mail from people who said that I shouldn't have resigned and I cost the district and everything. I think that, the redemption will happen in November.
Most of your book is about getting women to get involved in politics, sort of a guidebook on how they can succeed in politics. What's the most important piece of advice you think from here?
No one's going to lead the fight on our behalf. I mean, women are going to be the ones who have to do this.
Sure.
So I think that, part of a big part of the calling for the book is saying that we are, by our very nature and by the experiences that we've gone through, as women, we are warriors in this fight. And it's time for us all to stand up and to complete it.
All right. Well, we can't let you go without having some fun, because we want to remind people of a simpler time when you got to join us in the studio. We like to play music on this show. So here is a clip of when we asked you about your favorite song, and you chose the song Everybody by the Backstreet Boys.
You don't want to.
Do you do their dance move?
I don't know.
What was it? What did they do?
I can't remember.
They're already dancing. You got the whole thing ready. Stay with us. More of the issue is coming back. Come on, you can compete with. Oh, there she really. Then she got into it. See it right there. We finally see the dance move.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was a moment.
There it is. So cue. Here we go. Hit it one more time as we say goodbye. A little more Backstreet Boys. We got it.
Perfect.
There we go. All right. Katie Hill, thanks so much for joining us. And thank everybody for watching The Issue Is. All right. A reminder to log on to our website, theissueisshow.com, for past episodes, podcasts, and more. You can also send us an email to theissueis@foxtv.com. Join us next week for special coverage of the virtual Democratic Convention. Now, one of the things we won't see this year is a mass dance party. I want to take you back to video that literally makes me laugh every time I see it. Okay, here it is. Let's show it to you. The year 1996.